UFC 290, the UFC's International Fight Week card, is in the books, and I've got a lot of salt to sprinkle around for this one. For the last 2 weeks, we have had underdog after underdog cashing in. The question coming in for those who like a flutter was, would this streak continue? We had some Contender Series bookings, the cancellation of JDM, which really boiled my piss, and overall a card full of shocks and intrigue. Let's look into each one right now. What a fantastic fight this was to get the card kicked off. Kirk did a great job landing a takedown and had a lot of control time in the first round. Didn't really do much damage, but a clear round. And I was worried with my pick, even given how easily Ribovics was controlled on the ground. Second round, this fight went up a massive gear. Ribovics eased his way in by landing massive shots, landing kicks and hooks to the body. He managed to drop Kirk twice in that round. In the third, Kirk did well to land a takedown, but couldn't get much control time as he tired. Ribovics hits nasty shots to the body, marched forward, punctuating the round with massive ground and pound. He's going to need to improve on the ground and his ability to get back up, but this was a magnificent performance. Credit to Kirk too for making this a great fight. He looked jacket and will have some success, I think, at this weight class. Holy shit. Shannon Ross is dead. I called this one almost perfectly. I said that Ross would come in blazing, and he didn't even get a chance to get going with that. Aguilar faked a level change, came over the top with a thunderous overhand right, murked him right on the button. Christ, this was brutal. 17 seconds. You could actually see Ross's soul like levitating out of his body. What a start to the card. My god. This was the result I expected, but I thought it would take a little longer. This was murder. Ross is cooked. Alright, hard to know what to make of this, so I'll just break down this mismatch for what it was. Saaimon looked fantastic. What impressed me about this one was the ground transitions against a much taller opponent who has shown some competency on the ground. He showed great strength to reverse an early position. He chained grappling excellently, threatening submissions, including an early rear naked choke. Eventually, he took position behind a flattened out Mitchell and rained down ground and pound. Mitchell took probably more shots than he needed to. So this took Saaimon to 3-0 in the UFC. And for me, it was 3-0 on this card. He's 22 years old, has a well-rounded game, and I just hope they don't rush him. He's definitely one to watch. He mentioned wanting Garbrandt next. I don't think he's going to get it, but I do kind of fancy his chances if he does. That would be easy money. Alright, not the most exciting fight, but I was impressed with Petrino's performance in this one. He went with a grappling game, showing a new wrinkle, and while his transitions were not exactly slick, with the power he has and the lack of ground skill in this division, he could prove to be problematic. He softened Prachnio with body kicks and high kicks, and showed he has cardio for someone carrying that much muscle mass. He got a really powerful takedown in the first, which I really liked. Prachnio is pretty mid, but this was a marked improvement for Petrino since his last fight, showing he's got more than striking. He's 25, and at the rate he's improving, he could crack the top 15 by next year. He found his first submission of his career in the third, after displaying great patience and composure, and looked in no danger throughout. This was a nice performance. Right, this was the one I was the most unsure about, so I put a last-minute bet on Menifield, and I was so glad I did. Crute looked so promising early on in his career, but he's a sloppy striker. His takedown game is not good enough against these bigger boys, and his weaknesses were glaring tonight. Menifield landed the best shot of the first, dropping Crute, which was always the danger, but the rest of the round played out with Crute landing decent knees in the clinch. Second round, Menifield was catching Crute, who then went in for a takedown. Menifield just overpowered him and found the neck. Crute tapped pretty much immediately, took his gloves off to signal retirement, and I think it's the right call. He's a jack of trades and a master of none. In fact, he's pretty much rubbish at it all. And he's going to end up eating out of a fucking straw if he keeps going. Really nice win for Alonso. It was a decent fight while it lasted. Alright, this should have been a banker, but what the hell. Women's MMA strikes again, killing parlays across the land. Denise Gomez came out like a bat out of hell and murked her with a massive right. It might have been an early stoppage, but it's not like Yasmin was laid out. It's women's MMA. But she clung to the leg like a mong and took unanswered strikes. It wasn't great, but I don't think she can really complain. Another hype train derailed. and the first major shock of the card, it wouldn't be the last. Difficult to know if this was a fraud check, as these things can just happen. Glad I avoided betting on this one, as I was tempted. This was a shocker. Bit gobsmacked, and I'm usually mouthy as hell, but I've got nothing else. Alright, anyone who pulls guillotines in MMA at this level should be taken out to the barn like old Yeller and shot in the face. I have mixed feelings about this one overall. Taira was an excellent grappler, and his work on the ground is really fun to watch. He transitions beautifully and is really a problem when it does get down there. His stand-up is iffy though, and he had a few moments in this one where he got caught. Against better dudes, if he leaves himself open like that too often, he's going to get bonged. He dominated on the ground, but he did get a lot of help from Chairez, who clearly has brain damage. He did almost lock in a choke in the third, fair play to him, but Tyro saw out the bell to lose that round. Interesting that all three judges gave him a 10-8. Maybe there must have been some scoring changes that I haven't heard about. Decent performance, and Taira is young, but he has a lot of improving to do, and he's not ready for a jump up, in my opinion. Well, this one was over quickly, and it did look a little bit soft. A lot of people call this a dive by Price. I don't know about that. I just think he's terrible. Fight was over in the first minute. Lawler hit a shot to the temple as they traded that must have hurt more than it looked. And then Robbie followed up with an uppercut right up the middle, and Price just folded and flopped down horribly. I think he needs to be cut at this point. Horrific performance. Great to see a legend like Lawler end an incredible career without getting flatlined. We don't see that often. Good for him. Really happy to be wrong about this one. Jesus. Yeah, Bo Nickal beat this bum up. I've got a picture of Trayshawn Gore here, but he fought some other dude. Can't remember his name. A lot of talk about the wrestling, but if you had the pleasure of seeing Bo Nickal's contender fights, this motherfucker has hands as well. Only thing I will say is the takedown entry he did attempt in the first round was really poor. He just kind of collided into his opponent. If he can display hands like this and proves to have a chin, he's going to be good. Moment was kind of ruined though, with Cormier shouting blue chip and like creaming his pants after the fight was over. Less of that, please. Impressive win. I know it's a can, but he did what he was supposed to do, and I'm sure, you know, it was difficult in a very pressure situation. I don't think this deserved to be on the main card, even if it had been against Gore, but they clearly have plans to fast track this man, so whatever. Alright, this was the fight of the night so far. Dan Hooker is back, baby. I lost the pick and my only parlay of the night, and I could not be happier to say that. For a round and a half, this looked like Turner's fight. He was finding his range, landing the better strikes, and caught Hooker with a nasty, flush high kick that would have ended almost anyone on the roster outside of Vettori. Then it all just changed. Hooker came bombing forward at the midpoint of the second round. He caught Turner coming in, had him up against the cage, and almost had him out of a rear naked choke in the second round. A few more seconds and it would have been over then. Then in the third round, he beat up a gassed up Turner and punctuated the striking advantage with control on top. The chin is back, the warrior is back, and I'm absolutely delighted. Turner should go up to welterweight, where he really will get fucked up. Calling this a split was a robbery, even if the right guy won. This was a clear 2-1, and one worth rewatching if you missed it. Holy shit, what a performance by Dricus du Plessis. I could not be happier to be wrong. Was ruined ultimately, but I'll get into why in a moment. Dricus looked absolutely phenomenal. He showed he had a chin, he showed he had cardio, the pressure was relentless. He almost had a choke in the first and showed he had superior strength. Nobody expected that. He was so active in the first round. The high guard for me ultimately is what won him this fight. He stayed defensively responsible, he respected what was coming back, and he took his moment when it came. He caught Whittaker flush on the button in a second, stayed patient, and then hit a nasty body shot. Went to the head. As Whittaker fell, he took him down and just beat him down on the ground. Unfortunately, though, this fight was completely ruined by the biggest bellend in the sport. Adesanya gets in there, starts dropping M-bombs, attacking his bloodline. Totally ruined what was a great moment for a guy that is nothing but humble and respectful. And I hope when Dricus fights him, he absolutely flatlines him. I don't really expect it to happen, though. If I was Dricus, I would have smashed him on the spot. Adesanya is a piece of shit. People were actually cheering this shit in the crowd, which was even more disgusting. It's going to sell the fight. Well done. You can see he didn't do it for that reason, though. I really disliked Izzy before. Now I want to see him get humiliated. Alright, this was fight of the night. If I break this down fully, we'll be here all night. So, and you know, we still have the main event to talk about. Firstly, after a fight like this, it's tough to see either man coming out of a loss. Moreno looked like he was absolutely screwed in the first when Pantoja blasted him with a shot and then took the back early. I thought he was done, but Moreno showed throughout the entire fight what a warrior he is and how much he's improved since they last fought. I thought Moreno edged the fight based on the scoring criteria. Outside the first round, I felt like he was doing the damaging striking in the first parts of the round, but he did end 3 of the 4 fighting off guard control, and this is ultimately what lost him the fight. On top of the fact that Pantoja looked wobbled maybe once, this was a high-level fight, and I imagine both won't be looking forward to an inevitable rematch. This kind of mutual beating takes years off your life. I took it to go to a decision, but I felt Moreno might edge it, and despite there being a new champ, the fans are the ones that really won this one. They almost cut this division, you know, imagine that. What a fight. Lived up to every expectation. Volk is the greatest featherweight of all time. He went in there with a perfect game plan and made Rodriguez look like he wasn't at championship level. I saw a lot of people saying Yair wasn't really himself and was tentative. Volk just does this shit to you. Volk won the first 2 rounds pretty clearly by taking Yair down and dominating on top. Third was a little closer at first, with Yair landing a few shots until suddenly it wasn't. He had a few flashy moments when he finally got the kicking game going, but then he got a little bit reckless and then caught a slip counter right as he tried to throw a right of his own that was just gorgeous from Volkanovski. He knew he had him fucked. Rushed in, grabbed him, threw him on the ground like I do with my trash on a Thursday night, and then rained down ground and pound on him until Dean had to call it. Volk is not just a featherweight GOAT, but if he's not top of the pound for pound rankings on Monday, then fuck the whole list. It's meaningless. This was domination. This is the best fighter in the UFC right now. Makhachev needs to find somewhere to hide. Great performance. What a incredible win. Alright, so this took my record to 171.86. Took a bit of a hit. I did manage to escape with a winning card, barely, but I dropped down to 66%. We're back next week. I will be breaking down that card on, I believe, probably Tuesday. I might try and do it on Monday night. Thanks to everyone who tuned in as always, and this was a wonderful card. I would definitely rewatch it if you haven't already. Yeah, see you all on Tuesday. Have a great week.